In the spirit of testing, I wanted to give this one more shot. So what I did was I actually loaded the game. Let me bring this back up. I actually loaded the game prior to reaching Oberland Station. So I'm not at Oberland Station yet. This was just prior to reaching Oberland. This is one save before that. So if you take a look, notice Oberland Station is fine. There is not a problem at all. It looks good. Now, watch what happens when I get to Oberland Station and it loads the cell. This is part of that cell loading transition problem that I mentioned, because I actually made a mistake by going in the workshop mode, which changed the numbers back to the bed count. But I just wanted you to see this. So once I'm in Oberland and I've now transitioned into the cell, take a look. Look at Oberland Station. So now, once I transition, the numbers are wrong. Well, no, I'm sorry. The numbers are correct, but those 4 values are now being flagged as incorrect. And that's something I didn't check before. I didn't actually see if running into the settlement or loading the cell causes the problem. Because remember, there's a really weird, somehow not loading or initialization problem happening when transitioning into cells. But what's interesting is there's nothing wrong with those numbers. Those numbers here are actually 100% correct. Let me hit it like this so it won't move. They are 100% correct. There's no reason why food, water, or power should be flagged. Why would power be flagged? There's no power grid here. Well, technically, you could say there is if you're talking about a single generator. There is one single generator and one single thing. So technically there is a power grid, but there's no power grid objects connected. But once I transition into the cell, there is a problem. And I find it interesting that it's those same 4 variables, the same ones that are replicated, but the numbers are correct, but whatever numbers it's trying to compare them to or whatever check it's doing, that piece of code is what's bugging out. Whether that's a script, that might be in a script, or whether that's the base game, I am entirely not sure. I would have no idea. I would almost need to know which script it is to be able to load it up, to put some checks in to see exactly what variables it's even looking at or what variables it's comparing it to. But that is the origin of that problem. So if I was to save the game here, like I did before, this is where I saved it before I went into the workshop and tried to see if it was a bed count issue. I mean, not a bed count issue, but to see if if the beds themselves were not, if it was flagging beds, and then that was something, flagging beds is not being under a fixed roof, but it wasn't a problem until I transitioned here. So now that I saved it, let's load the save. Oh, God, I hate that. I hate when it does that. God, wrong button. Hang on a second. Let me load the save. No, getting ahead of myself. Let me load the save back up. I'm not even going to move the mouse. I'm just going to hit E. And let's see if loading it up fixes that like I'd mentioned before. So this is another just test of that situation, or that whatever it is. So let's go to workshops. And now Oberland Station no longer has those they're the same numbers, but they're no longer flagged as being bad. So whatever that script is or whatever that code is, that chunk of code that is updating or doing this, when it transitions between cells, I would say that is the source of the problem. That is where it's at. Loading is okay if that does the calculation. If for some reason there is code in there that is trying to minimize recalculating everything again. Maybe it's trying to assume certain variables are there, but I would say that's the portion of the code, if that makes sense. All right, I hope that helps. I do have to head off and get some things done, so it's going to be a while before I actually come back and can do much more. All right, so I hope that helps. And again, like I say, if you need anything, just give me a holler.